Hello, everyone. My name is Blair Nicol with FranNet, and welcome to the Franchise Ownership 101 webinar that is designed to be an educational webinar to help you learn about business and franchise ownership. If you're watching this webinar, it is likely that we have spoken via phone, maybe in person, maybe via Zoom, and you've expressed the interest to learn more about franchise ownership. So this webinar is designed to be about 45 minutes long. It is designed to get you to the point where you learn a lot about franchise ownership, the process that's ahead of you, how to properly research franchises, where's the financing coming from, what are the trends, what are all the resources that are available to you to help you get this done, as well as most importantly, how to find the franchise that's right for you and what next steps are. It's also designed to help you learn about franchise ownership and see if this is even right for you. So we hope it is, we hope you enjoy it, and feel free to reach out to us afterwards if you have additional questions or just need to comment or just want to reach out to us. So here we go. A little bit about myself. Been in franchising for my entire business career. It started back in 1986 when I was very young. My family and I own what was called the master development rights to mailboxes, etc., which you now know as the UPS store. And we own San Diego County. We had about 63 locations in San Diego County with a couple pilot locations. And we sold that business back to UPS back in 1997. At that time, I started with FranNet in Southern California. And I have helped thousands of people go through this process to help them learn about franchise ownership and ultimately help them find the franchise that is right for them and help them get launched. So I've been doing that now for a little over 25 years. I also own other businesses. I own other franchises. So I've been down this path myself. So I kind of not only talk the talk, but walk the walk. In addition to all that, I'm also a franchisor. I am the vice chairman of the board of FranNet, and we acquired FranNet about 14 years ago. And other businesses. So again, we're going to be about 45 minutes here, and we're going to discuss why do people go into business ownership? What are the options for going into business? The risks and rewards about going into business. Then we're going to tackle some of the myths associated with franchising. And then we're going to spend quite a bit of time of how do you find the franchise that is right for you. And then you're also going to want to have your phone ready if you can, because if you want to be able to get a copy of this, be able to get to our assessment tools, be able to get in contact with us, we'll have a QR code at the end that'll help you very easily get in contact with us if you'd like. So what does FranNet do? Like I said, FranNet is a company. We have helped tens of thousands of people over a span of about 30 years properly research franchise and ultimately find the franchises right for them. I have helped thousands of people do it over 25 plus years. And it's really neat to watch people go from, a simple educational webinar such as this to within a few months' time, if all goes well, you'll have identified and most likely signed the agreements for a franchise that you feel is the best fit for you. So think of us as a matchmaker. We help match people up with the right franchise based on their skill sets, their background, what it is that they're looking for, their financial budget, personality style, you name it. And usually our clients will look at multiple franchises at any given point in time. So what we do is we also pre-screen the franchisors that we work with. Any given point in time, we're probably working with around 250 to 300 different franchisors. By no means do you want to work with all of them. And by no means is that all the franchises out there. There are thousands of them. But we pre-screen the franchisors that we work with to make sure they meet our standards, to make sure that our clients will be happy with them, to make sure that those franchisors are the leaders within their industries, and that we feel comfortable with our clients taking a look at them. And know that we're not the one that sell franchises. In fact, we don't sell anything. The franchisors do. Our job is to help coach you through this process, to help match you up with the right franchise and then coach you through the research process so you can make a safe and wise decision. We also offer our clients a client bill of rights. And basically what this bill of rights is, hey, nobody's holding a gun to your head saying you have to do this. So we want you to know that hey, what are all the resources that are available to you? What is our code of conduct as far as working with their clients? Like I said, we've been doing this for decades and we've been doing it very ethically. We know all the resources, and FranNet is known as being the leader within the franchise industry in helping people find the franchise that is right for them. If you would like a hard copy of this client bill of rights, more than happy to email it to you at any time. So imagine for a minute, typically we do this webinar in person. And so I'll kind of ask the group, hey, if you knew you could be successful, whether you owned a job or whether you owned a business or if you had a job, which one would you rather have? And most people raise their hand and say, hey, if I knew I could be successful, I'd rather have my own business. Well, why do people go into business ownership? And so one of the first questions we ask our clients is, what is the true driving reason as to why you're doing this? Because whatever that true driving reason is, whatever business you go into, it better solve the reason of why you're doing this. And so what you're looking at here is in ranking order of typically what we hear from our clients as to why they're doing this, whether it's more fulfillment, greater success, maybe more financial security, maybe they're going through a career transition or some type of layoff and it is tired of corporate America, or they've always had the dream of having more control or building equity within their own business. And so that's why they're here. So again, you just got to understand what is the true reason of why you're doing this and be real honest with yourself. So yeah, most people choose to work for someone else. And so the question is why? Well, by far and away, the number one reason as to why people choose to work for someone else is right here. We're talking about risk. And the unfortunate part about going into business and franchise ownership is that it does require money, it does require time, and so that there is risk. And so my whole goal for you for watching this webinar is to show you how to minimize or close this window of risk as much as possible so you can feel like you're making a good, safe, wise decision and that you're properly supported by your family and loved ones to be able to do it as well. So some people might feel that a job is safer than a business, or hey, maybe there's some type of economic climate going on and they feel that, hey, maybe now is not the right time to start a business. Or do they have the proper money, knowledge, or skill sets to run a business? But by far and away, the number one reason that stops people from doing this is risk. So is going to work for someone else safe? Yeah, absolutely. Look, if you work for somebody else, or if you're interviewing for jobs, it doesn't really require a whole lot of money. It requires some time, maybe some networking, but there's very little risk. Look, the employer, whoever owns that company, is the one that took on the risk in the beginning to own and start that company. But typically what we find is that as time goes on, the risk of the job goes up. And so a lot of our clients, like I said, are going through some type of career transition. And they've noticed that, hey, there's just no love or loyalty in corporate America. And so the longer they stay with that company, probably the more likely they are to be more expensive to that company or can be easily replaced. And therefore the risk of the job goes up. But like I said in the beginning, there's very little risk in staying or finding a job. The exact opposite is true of business and franchise ownership. Look, the greatest risk in business and franchise ownership is right here in the beginning. So it's the exact opposite of a job. And usually there's some type of line right here along the timeline, if you will, where if you look on this side of the timeline, that's all the great stories that you hear about business and franchise ownership. It's this area where you hear some of the, quite honestly, some of the horror stories about business ownership, because it's usually the time frame where there's more money going out than coming in. It's where kind of all the blood, sweat, time, and tears being put into the business to get to that goal of where you hear all the great stories about business and franchise ownership. What I want to share with you today is that there is a good four-step research process that we have our clients go through, which will help you understand, hey, what is the risk associated with going in within the franchise that you're looking at? How long does it take to get into the income that you're looking for? And would you be comfortable with the risk associated with starting that business? The cool thing about this entire research process is that it doesn't cost any money, just requires some time. It doesn't obligate you in any way, shape, or form. In other words, you're not going to sign any agreements or anything until you are properly ready and really want to move forward with that business. And you know pretty sure what's going to happen when you move forward. The nice part about business ownership and franchise ownership is once you have reached the other side of that line, no one can take it away from you. It's yours. You can grow it, you can downsize it, you can transfer it, you can sell it, you can pass it on to family members or children for estate purposes. And the longer you own the business, the safer it becomes. Again, it's just the opposite of a job. So again, in a job, very safe in the beginning, but as time goes on, the risk of the job goes up. In business ownership, the greatest risk is in the beginning, and the longer you own the business, the safer it becomes typically. So you've played by the rules, and the rules are changing. Job security is really a thing of the past. You know, the days of the golden watches and retiring with the pensions typically don't happen these days. And so corporate America might be kind of against you. So there's also, hey, what about a concern for the economy and how can that impact a business? Well, we've been through this rodeo many a times. I have seen the dot-com bust. I have seen 9/11, I have seen COVID, I've seen the Great Recession, and have helped clients go into business during all those times. And typically what we see is the trends are of what we see our clients do during those times is that they will go into these types of businesses that you see on the screen right now. So these tend to be more essential businesses or essential businesses that are essential to other businesses or the general public, or a very growing market demand, like senior care or pet businesses or beauty, damage restoration, staffing, consulting businesses. These are all franchises that our clients have done very well in, no matter what has happened to the economy. So if that's a concern of yours, just know there's plenty of franchises that are proven that they're perfectly okay through the ebbs and flows of economic conditions. So you basically have three different ways that you can go into business. You can start a business from scratch, you can buy an existing business, or you can buy a franchise. So we're going to talk about all three here for a couple of minutes and kind of the pros and cons of each methodology. So starting a business from scratch. Look, it's the way every single business on this planet started, whether it's FranNet, whether it is Target, whether it is Starbucks, whether it is McDonald's, doesn't matter. Somebody had an idea and they started a business out of it. It is very, very cool to do. Look, it is the most entrepreneurial thing that you can do. You have total control. You get to make all the decisions, tons of room for creativity. You can build the business as large or small as you want, and you can build the business from a passion as well. The disadvantages is that you have to create everything. Everything from what are you going to call this business? How do you acquire customers? Who is your customer? What is the software that you're going to use to properly run the business? What are your accounting systems? What is the business going to look like? And so you got to create it all. So you create all the systems. It's usually limited financial options, very slow, long ramp up time. And so therefore, unfortunately, starting a business from scratch, there's usually a very high failure rate. In fact, the highest failure rate of any type of business is usually starting a food-related business from scratch, like a restaurant or something like that. Look, we all see it all the time of those businesses having a tough time. The second option is buying an existing business. And quite honestly, probably the safest way to go into business is buy an existing business. So we're here talking about a business that is currently open and you acquiring that business. What's really nice about that option is that it's a tangible asset. You are able to look, feel, smell, observe the business as it operates right now. There might be existing cash flow, goodwill, the customers are in place, the employees are in place, the market is established, it might be attractive to lenders, all the systems are in place. So somebody's already started the business and gotten it running for you. You can kind of see how it's doing. The disadvantages is finding good existing businesses for sale is very hard to find. The general rule of thumb is 2/3 of all businesses sell to a friend, family, or acquaintance. In other words, you and I never even knew this business was even for sale. I know every business that I've bought and sold over the years, it has gone that way. And so the other 1/3 tend to sell on the open market. If you wanted to see kind of what's available on the open market in your local area, you can go to a website called bizbuysell.com, BIZBUYSELL.com. It's the single largest website for business resales in the world. And it's where most business brokers will put their listings and individual business owners will put their listings if they didn't find somebody to acquire it beforehand. General rule is that, hey, look, good businesses are bought, They are not sold. In other words, the good businesses never go on the open market. So the disadvantages is, hey, what's the true cash flow of the business? What is this business really making? What should this business really sell for? What is the proper multiple that this business should sell for? Why is the seller really selling this business? If it was that good of a business, wouldn't they just hold on to it? Are you going to get the proper training support? Are the employees going to stay around? Like I said, the hard part about buying existing business is just really easily just finding one. Whenever we see a good existing franchise for sale, we absolutely let our clients know about it. But it's, again, rare. The third option for going into business is buying a franchise. So the pros of buying a franchise is that it's really kind of a business in a box. All right. It is a recipe to follow and how to properly run that business and excel in that business for your highest chance of success. And so you get all the name recognition, the system of how to properly run that business, all the training and support from not only the franchisor, but your fellow franchisees. Usually franchising has a much lower failure rate compared to an independent business. There's all kinds of financing options that banks really like for purchasing a franchise. Typically, banks prefer that you buy a franchise because they know you're going to get the support, you're going to get the systems, and like I said, the recipe on how to properly run that business. You're also going to give full disclosure on the business. So in franchising is regulated by the Federal Trade Commission. And so the Federal Trade Commission wants to make sure you are properly disclosed, which we'll go into here in a minute. And then there's also the franchise family. Look, all the franchisees within the system that you are purchasing within are there to help you and support you as well. And so you'll see that quite a bit of support will come from your fellow franchisees, not just the franchisor. Now, of course, there's disadvantages to franchising as well. And those are, hey, not every industry is franchisable, or not every business is franchisable. There is a structured operating system to starting and running the business. So if you're the type of person who's kind of a true entrepreneur and you like changing things, doing things differently, maybe franchising is not right for you, because franchising is about taking a business model and duplicating it time and time and time again. You can generally only sell the products and systems of the franchisor. There might be territory restrictions of where you can sell those products or services. Probably the biggest con is ongoing royalty payments and a franchise fee. So in a franchise, you are purchasing the business, you're given this business in a box, but in exchange for that, the way the franchisors make their money is they're going to charge an initial franchise fee and some type of ongoing royalty. A typical initial franchise fee that we see a franchisor charge somebody coming into their system is usually somewhere between $30,000 to $50,000, sometimes more. A lot of it depends on the number of units or the size of territory that you are wanting to purchase. And then where franchisors really make their money is off the ongoing royalty payments, so which you don't have in an independent business. So a typical ongoing royalty that you'll pay to a franchisor on a monthly basis is usually about 5 to 7% of gross sales will go to the franchisor on a monthly basis. And usually you see an additional, say, 1 to 2% that will go to some type of advertising or media fund or maybe technology fees or something like that. But all of that is designed to help you do better. And the better you do, better the franchisor does. So the franchisors want to try to help you as much as possible, because like I said, the better you do, the better they do. So they have every want and desire to watch you do better. As I mentioned earlier, franchising is regulated by the Federal Trade Commission. And the Federal Trade Commission wants to make sure you're properly disclosed on the franchises that you're researching. So this is a typical franchise disclosure document. You can see they're generally about an inch thick or so, not the funnest reading material in the world, but it has the disclosure documents as well as the actual franchise agreement that their franchisees sign. Typically, these documents are probably emailed to you in some type of PDF document from the franchisor. And the franchisor will typically provide these documents to you. Usually we see about 2 to 3 conversations into the research process. So at the point where, hey, you have a keen interest in the franchise, you've spoken to the franchisor a couple of times, you want to keep moving forward, as well as the franchisor has spoken to you a couple of times, they feel like you're a pretty good fit. And at that point, they will give you the disclosure document. That disclosure document is going to tell you what your rights are, what their rights are. Do you get a protected territory or not? What's the size of the territories? This highlighted portion on this screen, I'm going to get back to that here in a second. They'll give you financial representations. In other words, hey, how well do their franchisees do financially? That's called an earnings claim. It's item number 19 within these disclosure documents. It's usually one of the first questions people have is, hey, how well do the franchisees do financially? So that's in these disclosure documents. The financial statements on the parent company, the management policy, how long is this agreement last? How do you sell it? How do you transfer it? How do you terminate it? Because you got to remember, you own this business, okay? And it is a sellable asset. So you've built equity in this business in addition to the annual income of the business. So you're going to want to know, hey, if you want to sell this business, how do you do that? This highlighted portion, it is the most important part of this disclosure document. Part of the research process of researching a franchise is talking to the franchisees, not just the franchisor. The disclosure document is going to give you a list of every single one of their franchisees, their names, addresses, and phone numbers, broken down by state, as well as every franchisee that has sold or failed within the system, again, broken down by state. And you are free to talk to any of these franchisees within the system. In fact, we will arm you with a bunch of questions to ask not only the franchisor, but we're going to arm you with a bunch of questions, financial, operations, training, guidelines, things like that, to ask of the franchisees. That's part of our research process to help you out with. And a lot of people ask, hey, are these franchisees really willing to help and answer the questions? And every single one of our clients is pleasantly surprised at how much information they can get from the franchisees. Whether they do it again, how they do it differently, how good is the franchisor, how well are they doing financially, how good is the support, how good is the training, what was their investment level, were there any surprises that they weren't aware of? And you'll see that the franchisees will share all this with you. And like I said in the beginning of this webinar, you can glean a whole lot of information. You're still not obligated to purchase this franchise in any shape or form. You haven't signed anything, you haven't written any checks or anything, and you can find a lot of information about these particular franchises. So you're going to talk to current and past franchisees that will let you know the success and failure rate of the particular franchise that you're looking at. And like I said earlier, usually our clients are looking at multiple franchises at any given point in time. So they're comparing and contrasting the franchises along the way, what you can't do with independent businesses. A lot of people ask me, hey, Blair, what's the latest, greatest trend that's happening within franchising? Well, I would say probably about 80% of our clients, as well as my clients that I work with, are looking at a category of what we call semi-absentee. I also own semi-absentee franchises. Semi-absentee means it's not full-time, okay? These are franchises that usually require somewhere around 10 to 15 hours per week, maybe 5 to 20 hours per week of time and oversight by the franchisee or the owner to oversee the operations of the business. And so usually we'll have a manager that runs the day-to-day operations of the business. And our clients, like I said, just oversee the operations, do the goal setting, oversee the financials, like I said, set the strategic vision for the business and oversee the manager who runs the day-to-day operations. The reasons why our clients do these semi-absentee businesses is we have a lot of clients who are kind of semi-retired and just want something to do and want to apply their skill sets and make some income in their kind of semi-retirement years. Or maybe they have a full-time job now and want to ease into a business over time, but really need to spend most of their time focused on that current job. And once the business is up and running, producing the income they want, then they can leave their job on their terms. Or maybe they're looking to diversify their income or looking to diversify their investment portfolio. There's many different reasons as to why our clients look at the semi-absentee category. But all I want you to know is that the vast majority of our clients are looking at semi-absentee right now, and there's plenty of franchise that fit this category. So some of the semi-absentee businesses, some of the segments: hair care, beauty, fitness, wellness, building construction, senior care, real estate. There's all kinds of different segments. This is not all of them by a long shot. Some work with the general public, some work with other businesses, some are home-based, some are office-based, some are retail-based. In general, though, we typically see these semi-absentee businesses be location oriented, where a manager is running the day-to-day operations, and usually there's advertising dollars or marketing dollars that go out to attract customers into the business. So there's not a lot of outbound sales, but there is a marketing component. So that's what semi-absentee is all about. So you get to keep your job. The owner's work is usually after hours, or if you have a flexible schedule, you're kind of doing work on the business here and there. You can monitor the business remotely. Look, I was in Europe just a few weeks ago, and on my iPad, I could manage the semi-absentee franchise that I own from the other side of the planet. It is very, very cool to watch the online systems that are necessary and that you can use to oversee the business from basically anywhere. And a lot of our clients also use semi-absentee businesses as a growth and investment model or vehicle to hedge against economic changes as well. So what are some of the myths associated with franchising? Well, usually one of the things we do when we do these webinars live is we will ask the group to start naming franchises to us. And typically we'll hear names like McDonald's, Subway, maybe a couple non-franchises like Starbucks or something like that, Taco Bell. And so the common denominator behind most of the franchise that people mention are their food, okay? That's what people generally think of when they think of franchising, is that franchise is only fast food or retail. What I want you to know is that there are thousands of choices out there in all kinds of different industries. Rarely do one of our clients actually purchase a food franchise. Every now and then we have a client that's right for it, but most of our clients are not. Just know there's over 90 different industries, over close to, I think now over 1 million operating units here within the United States. And like I said, in all kinds of different industries. Franchise succeed because of the quality of the product. What franchise succeed in is creating a business system, okay? And this is what you're purchasing as the franchisee. You are purchasing all of this. So this is what you need to fall in love with. Your client, or I'm sorry, your customers or clients need to fall in love with the actual product that the franchise produces, but you need to fall in love with the operations of the franchise, because you're purchasing the business. So you need to fall in love with the marketing, the sales, operations, the accounting systems, which is that business in a box that the franchisor is providing you. So that's what you're writing a check for, and that's what you need to fall in love with. Successful franchise emerge in new industries with no new competitors. Actually, quite the opposite. Franchisors usually come out of industries that have been dominated by independents, and just the franchisors have found a better way to do it. And so then they're able to bring in their marketing power, their purchasing power, their advertising, you name it, their services. And typically there ends up being a little bit of consolidation within that typical industry, which is really neat because it tells you that, hey, if the independents can do it just fine, if there's a franchisor that is not within your marketplace yet, and they have proven time and time again in other cities that they can do it better and that they're successful in doing it every single time, and that business is affordable to you and it matches what you're looking for, then that franchise is probably a good fit for you, okay? So there's also no correlation between the cost of the business and the potential return of the franchise. Most of our clients, when they initially come to us, they say, look, obviously I want to make a lot of money. Does that mean, do I have to invest a lot of money? And the answer is no, not at all. Not in the beginning. Okay, there's no correlation. All I ask is that you trust us on this, because we're going to have you look at franchise in different investment ranges. And quite often our clients find that the franchises that are the most affordable can make just as much money, if not more, than the franchise that are stretching their budgets as well. And what you're looking at here, the percentage of franchise that fall within those investment ranges, I would say today, our average client is probably spending around $200,000, maybe a little bit more on their franchise. Doesn't mean that you have to. I would say franchise range from anywhere from around $60,000, $70,000 total cost to $100,000 into the millions. But again, one of the things that we're going to establish together is a budget that's comfortable for you, and then we'll look at franchise that are within that initial investment range. Now, if you're looking at a business that costs, say, $200,000, where does that money come from and how much money do you need? Well, typically, if you're going to go after small business financing or financing in some shape or form, about a third of the total cost of the business will be your money. Call it 25 to 30%. Kind of like buying a house. You got to put a down payment on a house, typically around 20, 30%, and then the bank will give you a mortgage for the remaining portion. Same thing here, it's just done for a business. So if you're looking at a business that costs 200,000, you probably got to come up with about 60,000 or so, maybe 50,000. If you're looking at a business that costs 100,000, you probably got to come up with about 30,000 in cash. Now, where does the financing come from these days? Well, it will come from either personal savings. In other words, hey, you're looking at a business, you know the overall cost of it. You got that money lying around. You can write a check for it. You don't even deal with financing. So personal savings, maybe friends, relatives, or a partner. Home equity line of credit. This is still one of the cheapest, easiest, quickest sources of financing that you can do for business ownership. So if you have a lot of equity within your home, you can apply for a home equity line of credit, and you can use that line of credit to purchase a business. Maybe seller financing if it's a resale. The last one that you'll see down there is what we call ROBS program. ROBS program is an IRS program from the ERISA Act of 1973, which allows you to use retirement funds to purchase and fund a business without early withdrawal fees and without penalties. So most people know that if you tap into a retirement account and use those funds for personal reasons, yes, you will get early withdrawal fees and you will get penalties. But if you use those funds for a business and set it up properly, and you have to set it up properly. It's called the ROBS program. You can use retirement accounts to fund your business. And I would say around half of our clients use retirement funds to fund their business. And there's many reasons as to why they do it, but there's many, many tax advantages to doing it. There are also, some of them feel that, hey, they don't want the retirement funds at the mercy of the stock market or whatever the case may be. Hey, they'd rather have more control and invest it in their own business. So all I'm saying is that if you have a good retirement account and are willing to use some of those funds, you can, without early withdrawal fees and penalties. There's also general small business loans. A lot of people refer to them as SBA loans, but there are small business loans to purchase a business, but the bank will hold collateral generally. They will want you to see you put a down payment on the business and all kinds of other things. These three companies are the leading financing companies within the franchise industry. So whether it's Benetrends, Guidant Financial, FranFund, they all do the same thing. They all offer the same products. There are wonderful companies. We've been working with all these companies for many, many, many years. Never had a bad review of one of the companies, if you will. They know the lending environment. They can help pre-qualify you. They can share with you probably what's going to be the best source of financing for you to help you purchase the franchise that you want. And they offer all those products, everything from small business loans to that ROBS program to home equity line of credit to also a portfolio line of credit. So if you have stocks, mutual funds, bonds, you can take a line of credit against those, against your portfolio without selling those stocks or mutual funds. So just kind of like a home equity line of credit, just against your stocks and bonds. And so these companies will help you get that done. So again, does high return require higher investment? No, there's no correlation whatsoever. And so that's kind of a nice thing for you. Is industry experience required? No, generally what franchisors are going to look for is that do you have the skill sets necessary to properly start and support and run that franchise? Because they're going to give you the system of how to use that, how to run that business successfully. And you got to be willing to follow that system. And so they're looking for people who, as an owner, have good management skills or good communication skills, maybe good sales or marketing skills, again, to follow their proven process. So if the business requires a lot of employees, have you managed teams of employees before? If the business requires a lot of outbound sales, have you done sales before? Or, hey, good communication skills. So again, not that you have previous experience within the industry that they're in, but that you have the skill sets necessary to run that business. So how do you find the franchise that's right for you? So we're going to take a little pivot here. We're going to switch gears. And we're going to talk about How do you find the franchise that's right for you? Well, you got to ask yourself, hey, are you willing to follow a franchisor system? What's your budget? What's affordable to you? What risk level is acceptable to you? What would drive you out of bed in the morning? What's going to be fun? What are you going to really enjoy? What are your goals that you're trying to achieve? I mean, the whole reason for doing this business is to help you achieve your goals. So what are your personal goals? What are your financial goals? And these are all questions that we're going to ask of you so that we understand them as well. So again, you got to know what these are, but we also have a lot of questions we can ask of you to help kind of dig this out too. What's important to you? Are you looking for more challenge, recognition, prestige? Are you trying to build more equity for retirement? Are you trying to build an asset here that you can sell in the future? Have you just been working like a dog and you want more time for family and interests? Like, this is a big one for me right here. All right. I have young children. I want to spend time with them. I like coaching my son's football games, his little league baseball teams. I like playing golf with my family. So having a flexible schedule is important to me in the businesses that I acquire. Are you looking for more independence, financial security? So again, what's important to you to have in this business? In other words, what are the must-haves that if the business doesn't provide it or have it, the business doesn't make the cut? What are the skill sets that you're bringing to the business? Okay, what are you really good at? And to be able to look at franchise that capitalize on your personal skill sets. And all of us have different skill sets of what we're really good at doing. We just want to make sure we capitalize on it. So one of the tools that we have is we have an assessment tool that'll help you learn and help us learn a lot about you. So we call this a personal franchise assessment or franchise readiness assessment. It takes about 20 to 30 minutes to do. You'll be able to get a link to it, or if you receive this webinar in an email form, you should have a link to this assessment tool in that email. And that'll be your next step, is to do that assessment. So it is a proprietary tool that we have used for decades. It is specifically for going into franchising. It's going to look at your values, motives, core competencies, budget, some items that you think you'd like to see in your business. And it's going to produce about a 12 to 14 page report for both you and us. And we're going to want to review that assessment with you. All right. So get your phone ready, get your camera ready on the phone, because that QR code is going to come up. If you want to get another copy of this presentation, or you can't find the link to that assessment tool, it'll be on this QR code. Okay. So again, this is your next step after watching this webinar, is to do this assessment tool if you want to keep moving forward and you want us to help you identify the franchise that are right for you. So here comes the QR code. So I'll leave that up here for just a few moments. So again, snap a photo of it, get you right to that information. If for whatever reason you can't find it within the email that we sent to you. It's another moment for you. All right, moving on. Once we have that assessment tool and you and I have reviewed it together, then we're going to want to set up a meeting to build your business model. And basically a business model is we're going to build a recipe together of everything that you want to see in a franchise so that we know what it is that we're looking for. So we're going to ask questions around, what type of employees do you want? How many employees do you want? We're going to solidify that budget together. How do you want a business that's out of your home, out of an office, light industrial, maybe a retail location? Do you want something that's full-time? Maybe that semi-absentee, part-time category is right for you. How do you want to grow this business? Do you want to grow it through multiple territories, multiple units? Maybe you just want a business where you have one location and you're able to build the business or grow the business out of that just one location. Do you want something that's more B2B, business to consumer? Do you want to sell a service or a product? Again, there's going to be some other items as well, and you're probably not going to have all the answers to all these questions, and that's okay. Because as we start looking at these franchises, you're going to learn a lot about what you want and what you like and what you don't like. So, but we got to have a starting base to where to start from. And it's from building this business model together. So again, after you do the assessment and we review the assessment together, then we're going to build a business model together. Now we know what it is that we're trying to find. And that's where myself, FranNet, we can get to work for you and help identifying the franchises that are a good fit for you out of the sea of franchises out there. This is an example of actual business model of what we create for our clients. So we will email your personal business model to you. Again, we'll review it, confirm that it's what we're looking for. And then again, once we've solidified all this, now we know what it is we're trying to find, and then we'll help match you up with the right franchise. And like I said, usually our clients will look at multiple franchises at any given point in time. There's a few books we suggest you read. One is More Than Just French Fries, what you see on the screen there. Another one is called Street Smart Franchising. These are national bestsellers. There's some of the, this one in particular is probably the best book that we have seen in researching and purchasing franchises. It's not the easiest book to find or get, but it's been around for a long time, and our clients have actually have loved it, and it follows our process very well as well. We're also going to align you with the professional advisors within your local area. So who are the professional franchise attorneys in your area that can help you dot your I's, cross your T's, review the franchise agreements with you? Who are the accountants that specialize in franchising within your local neighborhoods? So again, we know who all these people are because we've done this thousands and thousands and thousands of times. We'll help align you with all those people. Typically, the franchise attorneys and accountants are at the last part or one of the last steps in researching a franchise because unlike us, they will charge money to use their services. So we want to be going to them saying, hey, we have identified the franchise that we want. We've done all of our research. We got our financing ready. We just want to dot our I's, cross our T's prior to signing this franchise agreement. Hey, attorney, hey, CPA, can you review all this work for me? Once we get their blessing, then we're good to go and good to execute that agreement. The entire research process typically takes about 2 to 3 months, maybe 2 to 4 months. Bottom line is it takes as long as it needs to take, but usually about 2 to 3 months. And that's from the time of doing the assessment to the time of signing a franchise agreement. Like I said, is usually about 2 to 3 months. When you physically open the franchise, totally depends on the type of franchise that you're purchasing. If you are purchasing a franchise that is home-based or office-based, you can probably be in business pretty quickly after making the decision, say 30, 60, 30 to 90 days. If it's more of a retail location where you got to go find the location, execute a lease, build out the location, you know, your typical franchises that we see out there, you're probably looking at least 6 to 12 months after signing the franchise agreement as to when you physically open the doors to your franchise. Okay. So again, we will walk you through that entire research process. We'll arm you with all the questions, tools, educational tools, local resources to help you get this done. So that's about everything. I hope this was a good educational webinar for you. There's my personal contact information. You can call me directly. That is my personal cell phone number, right to this cell phone right here. So you can call me, text me. There's my email address. You can go to our website. Again, there's the actual link to the personal franchise assessment tool or franchise readiness assessment. Feel free to look us up on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, you name it. You can connect with previous clients of ours. You can look at reviews, anything you want. So again, I hope this was helpful to you. I hope it got you to the point where you know how you want to keep proceeding. Again, if you want to keep proceeding and you want us to help you out, then your next step is to do that assessment tool, which you should have the link for. Of course, you can call us with any questions that you have in regards to this webinar. Again, good luck. Hope to prosper us in the future and most success to you. Thank you.